In March of 2020, a deadly virus swept across the globe. Donald Trump made an announcement to shut down the economy. Everywhere, restaurant owners told their employees to stay home, thinking that this would help stop the spread of the virus. But then something strange happened. They asked the workers to come back, and then to leave again, and then to come back. They were living in a sort of dreamland. Where simultaneously the novel coronavirus was deadly enough to shut down a unionizing workplace, but also it was impossible to contract while seated, maskless, at a table. A group of small business owners called the NYC Hospitality Alliance argued that contact tracing data showed the virus hadn't been transmitted at restaurants, but rather at indoor gatherings. Why did I just become Australian? But no one knows. But no one was asking whether indoor gatherings had happened at restaurants, which would have rendered the entire argument meaningless. So what was really happening? Thank you for your service. 5. Hey, what's up, everyone? You might remember my next guest if you're a hardcore PDA fan, and especially if you're a fan of the series. Thank you for your service. From the first episode we did of this, my buddy Alex Moore. Welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys?
You might remember Alex as the guy who we found a dead body in our bar. That was the story. Dude, I had like road gigs after that where people were like they thought I was gonna tell the dead body story on stage. People were like, talk about the dead body.
Yeah, that was I mean, he really just kind of like, because he wasn't even like in the bar; he was over it.
Yeah,
and was just melting into the nail salon next door.
Yeah, he was like turning into terrifying icicles. You know.
Yeah, body melt.
Yeah. Anyways, man, I'm glad to talk to you. I haven't fucking come and seen you in a long time because I've been, pretty busy myself, and during the pandemic, I feel like I fucking just ran by your bar once every few months or something. It was like, oh, now it's a window, now it's a tent. Okay, how are we doing this?
Yeah, we went through a whole evolution. First, when we first got the okay to open, we set up at the front, like the normal entrance, which I was firmly against because it's on Wyckoff. And for, I guess, your listeners who aren't familiar with New York City, Wyckoff's a very busy, noisy, very visible like street for like police and everything. And then my first shift back, I got a summons from the police because they had this Lieutenant Michael Bish. I wonder why he became a cop. I'm not kidding. Bish, yeah, Bish. But he, like him and I guess his side partner, turned a traffic camera that's set to monitor traffic on the pretty busy intersection we're on to just watch us and wait for like someone to fuck up, because in the early part of the pandemic there wasn't I mean, that's the other thing, like these rules and regulations have just been constantly changing every like almost weekly. And at the start you could only take shit to go and couldn't consume alcohol on the streets. And so they turned this camera that's meant to monitor like hit and runs and shit and just focused on us.
Yeah, they just turned a traffic light onto the bartender.
Yeah, and then pulling this like really lazy wire sting type situation where they like the first time they came by and just like threw down like this printed out like picture of my coworker and some people doing shots outside. And he was like, "Oh well, we're just trying to do our jobs here. It's just against regulations, a warning. So we don't want to have to come back." We're like, "Okay, we won't." Because we didn't know that we can just do shots like at the front. So day goes by, we tell people like you can't really drink that here. You got to go around the corner or like just go somewhere else. And then I guess towards the end of the night, my off-duty coworker and his roommate got around and then just did the shots right outside the bar, which I didn't see. And then this is like right at closing time, so I'm sitting down about to do money, and they just barge in like, "What do we tell you? What do we listen, guys? We just we gave you a warning. Really tried to be cool here." And we're just like, "What?" And and just purely because I was sitting down and closest, I had the ticket was put in my name.
Yeah.
And it just says breach of emergency statute. Like, "Oh, well, you got any questions? And now's the time to ask." I'm like, "Okay, well, what is it specifically?" He's like, "Oh, well, just call that number." So what? How much is the fine? Is it to me or is it the bar? "Oh, listen, I think you should really just call that number. They'll really take care of your questions." I'm like, "All right, well then you fucking useless." So I went to court today because it's kept getting. This happened a year ago, just about, and the court date's been pushed back and pushed back because of COVID. And I got to Kew Gardens with my boss, which is deep in Queens and very annoying to get to. And they were just out. These cops were just outside. Like, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that today.
Yeah.
I don't know. Check the website."
So they did a sting on you like the first week that
Yes.
fucking shit was like outside. That's so fucking stupid.
It really, I mean, the thing is, this was pre George Floyd, so cops in the city were unbelievably bored
Yeah.
because there wasn't like no one was out, no one could be out, so they just kind of had to make as much money for the city as they can and as creatively as they could, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I hope they just throw it out. I mean, I don't think Lieutenant Bish is going to remember to show up.
Fucking Officer Bitch.
I know.
God, that's so funny.
It's really dumb.
All those people either become cops or like substitute teachers for some reason.
Yeah, like gym teachers.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, sorry that the fucking law came down on you. That's really stupid. But
it's all right.
So, I mean, the way that the bars are now kind of set up, it's like you're just kind of inside and then you wait until customers come by and they can't really come inside. Has it just been boring? I mean, what's it like?
Yeah, I mean, I used to, like when it was boring, I had a TV in the bar, so I would just put on like weird anime I'd find on YouTube whose like rights had lapsed, so I would just watch like weird shit and listen to music. But now we just have like a security camera system, so that TV's just tuned into like the camera that's facing the patio outside.
Oh, now you're Officer Bish.
Now I'm the narc. It sucks. Like I saw a dude at like the very end of the patio, like go around the barricade, very obviously do a massive rail off his hand. And I was just like, I don't care. Like what? Fucking whatever, dude.
Just wear a mask.
I know. That's the other thing, like with this, it's like now because there's only one bathroom people can use, it's even more painfully obvious when people just go to the bathroom to do blow.
Yeah.
It's like, they're like, "Oh, man, the seal's broken, man." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, cool." Like, yeah, all right. Probably get that looked at.
Well, just put it inside of your mask.
I know. Like,
just do it in public.
I know the amount of just like, I mean, bartending is already objectively just babysitting for adults, but now it's just like, to quote fucking South Park, just making sure everyone's face diapers are like securely fastened.
Yeah. Well, damn, dude. I mean, that sounds pretty rough. I was hoping, that somebody died at the bar again. I don't know why. I thought it would happen again, or some people.
I mean, there is a silver lining to it though, because like I have to wear a mask, and I can just be as mean and fucking catty to people as I want.
Yeah.
It's like working at Dick's Last Resort, like, and it's just the perfect job. Like oh man, like, because people, I mean, people are always going to be stupid when they go to a bar, but now like they'll be at the front, like, oh, so what do you have? And I'm like, there's a menu like literally taped to the table in front of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there's a menu right here. And they're just, oh man, oh sorry, I didn't see it. I'm like, that's okay. Bushwick's full of writers, not a lot of readers. And that usually lands really well, but then one woman got really fucking angry at me.
Damn, like, struck a nerve, huh?
Yeah, I have no qualms about like telling people, you call this the tip. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, there was this other woman, like, start of the day, she wants a giant like quart container frozen drink, which we do, and then like vegan nachos to go. And I'm like, okay. Wasn't rude or shitty. I was just like, all right, that's fine. And then she does it on card and then just leaves nothing. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And she's like, what? I mean, you're not serving me. I'm like, well,
what an asshole.
I'm making your drink and like I get paid through tips. And she's like, well, aren't you the owner? I'm like, no. Why do you assume?
Why would the owner be working?
Why? Yeah, like what? People's I mean, I've said this for a long time. Like, I think the service industry should operate like the IDF. Like, everyone just has to do a tour.
Yeah.
Just to understand. And then I'm like, I'm just like, it's fine. It's just like, I'm letting you know. And she's like, well, you're being kind of rude. I'm like, I really want to be like, listen, I'm really not. And then she wanted to talk to the owners. I'm like, well, they're not here. And my owners are very cool, and they would have been extremely rude to her. And then she tried to come in and watch me make the drink. And I was like, you can't do that. And then she just canceled her order. I'm like, all right, I'm glad neither of us are happy.
Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah, it's... and then, I mean, there's so many people that just call and ask, like, yeah, so we can come in and play pool, right? I'm like, listen...
What?
You fucking... Yeah. Are you, like, the dumbest Encino man? Like, you just, like, got thawed out and just think everything's, like, cool because, like, a couple people have gotten vaccines?
Yeah. Yeah, holy shit. Well, damn, dude. Yeah, it sounds like, pretty much people are as horrible as usual, but in, like, a new setting.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking to me, man. Anyone who is new to the show and likes these service industry episodes, you must sign up for the Patreon and listen to the first one to hear fucking Alex talking about this dead body we found when we were bartending. It's the funniest goddamn thing ever.
It was so bad. I feel really bad about my post promoting that shit.
Oh, man, it was so good.
All right.
All right, man.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Do you have Dracula Mountain?
Yeah, you can follow me at Dracula_Mountain because I misspelled mountain. I don't have a show you can you can send me money on Venmo if you want. All right. Alex-Moore 20s-129.
Hey, man, maybe. We'll see.
I doubt it, but...
All right. Let's get the fuck out of here. Okay, hello, everyone. Now I'm talking to my friend Madison Davis out of L.A., who is a friend of mine who works in the service industry out there. Madison, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I stayed up until 4 a.m. last night because I worked and I drank too much coffee to go to sleep. And I woke up and drank more coffee, and I'm not going to break the cycle.
Yeah, I kind of did that too. Shit's fucking weird. You work in like fancy restaurants, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
What's that like? How's that been over COVID?
Well, I do have to say that it was pretty cool to see that my regulars were really actually actively trying to take care of us.
Yeah.
Um, but the not so regular people became the worst. I don't even know how it happened.
Um. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that kind of makes sense. Did you get like no mask people, or what's the?
Oh my God. Beverly Hills was, I work really, really, really close to Beverly Hills. And those are, there were like Trump rallies there. Beverly Hills is a weird place, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
People were either like refusing to wear masks when they came in or like getting their temperature checked, stuff like that. Or they'd be wearing like Trump face masks, which is like the new fucking bumper sticker. Which I'm always like, if you have a political bumper sticker on, you better be an excellent driver. Same like you're coming in with a Trump mask, you better not be a fucking asshole because you're making it worse.
yeah. Well, you're besmirching the good name of Donald Trump for one.
Yeah, he does not like that.
What's the worst thing that happened to you in the last year at a restaurant that would, I guess, make a funny podcast? If someone, killed you, then don't tell me that story. But do you have any nightmare stories?
Well, I guess like something that has been like stuck in my craw for a long time. Like I haven't been able to not be pissed about it every time I think about it. This woman ordered on Grubhub and she said she had a severe dairy allergy. So I called her and told her she couldn't get what she was getting, and we fixed it. I didn't realize that French fries had like it's the same fryer as the dairy, whatever. So I call her and I'm like, so we can't give you French fries. I'm gonna put a baked potato in there instead. And she starts screaming at me, that's not what I ordered. And I said, you said you had a severe dairy allergy. I'm trying not to kill you. And she's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, well, don't lie about allergies over the phone.
Yeah.
And then she gets the food and it's cold. What she got was a really thin piece of grilled chicken with a salad on top, a cold salad, and French fries. And the Grubhub dude was late to pick it up, and the food was cold, and she was insisting that I do something about it. I'm like, there's nothing. I didn't do any of this. It was Grubhub. And she's like, it's ridiculous. She's just screaming at me. And I'm yelling back at her, and my manager's eyes are all big, but I'm like, no, I'm right. I'm not. No. Come pick it up if you want hot food.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy that she would just lie about that. The dairy allergy.
She's put severe. She didn't just say dairy allergy. She put severe. Like if I had given her the French fries and it was true, she would have been really sick.
That's weird because either she's lying or she's just like, no, give me diarrhea. Like I want to have horrible diarrhea. Fuck you.
I want really expensive diarrhea.
Yeah. Fuck, man. How's LA been in general? I haven't really talked to a lot of people out there.
I am pretty sick of everyone. Just like around where I work, I feel like people really don't want to wear face masks because they've spent so much money fixing their face. That's not fair to them to have to cover it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, the first night that we reopened, so I do have to say, like, when we were closed, the first time we were just doing takeout and deliveries, I felt better than I have in a really long time. And it made me think about that. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to figure out something else to do. So that was a lot. But when we first started opening, so the first night, I have to wear a shield. I'm wearing 2 face masks. I can't hear because I've stood too close to way too many speakers in my life. And I thought she said no cheese, but she said no peas in her pasta, and it was a $300 bill, and she stiffed me on the first night of reopening COVID-19.
God damn.
Like, just straight up stiffed me because there were peas in your pasta. I brought her a side of cheese. I was like, oh, sorry. Eat around the peas. They're really obvious.
Yeah.
Just don't eat them.
Huge and green.
I don't have tolerance for customers like other places I go right now either. Like, I went down to Inglewood and I was waiting in line to get barbecue, and this white guy in line looks at me and says, "This is the best ethnic food in LA." And I just looked around to make sure no one heard him because I didn't want to get any of his blood on me.
Yeah, hell
Like,
yeah.
what a fucking asshole. What an idiot. I'm just like, it's tough out there right now. I don't know how people got more terrible. I feel like this should have been time for people to look inside, see that kindness is all we fucking have in this world because everything else is a construct. We're all like, everyone's like, people are becoming multi billionaires, and we're like begging for $15 an hour. So it's like, we're all we have. So just be fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that are like taking this time to be introspective and cool. It's just that they're at home inside, and then all the douchebags are.
That's you know what? That is really accurate, because the people that were like storming the castle to get back inside aren't the people that are working on themselves. You're totally right about that.
Yeah, no, for those people, it was like a political statement to be like, I want to, go to a buffet. Fuck you, you don't tell me I can't.
I want to make a server cry in person. I don't know. I have my first vaccine shot, so I'm going to get my second one, and I'm going to go fuck shit up. So maybe I'll come your way.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll see you too, because I got fat vaxxed. I'm waiting on my second one, but I qualified for the body mass index one because I got fat over quarantine. So it's
That's
soon.
one way to get in line for it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone should just get vaccinated. There's like a manufactured thing that they're trying to make us fight over with oh, you're cutting the line. Everyone should just get it as fast as possible.
I mean, yeah, I think everyone is going to get it by May, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go get some wheels and come out, drive across country soon. So hopefully I'll see you then. All right, man. Well, where can my listeners follow you and all that shit?
Instagram, SecretAgentPusssyPants. You have to use 3 S's because Instagram is sexist and won't let you have pussy in your name.
Wow.
And Twitter at Bagel Dogging.
Cool, man. All right. I will see you soon.
All right. Bye, Jake.
Bye. Okay, I'm now joined by Alexander Edward and Tony Boswell. You may know them as Minion Death Cult. Very good friend of ours here at the show. Welcome back, boys.
Hey, good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I miss, it's been quarantine. I've missed seeing your goddamn faces, even though I'm 99.999% friends with you just through the internet.
Yeah.
You're going to have, when quarantine is over, you're going to have to make a special flight back up to Seattle just to sleep on my floor again.
Yeah, no, I'll bring something that amplifies my snoring somehow and makes it even louder for you so that you remember what it was like the time we met. I don't know. Maybe I will see you. I'm thinking about going on a fucking trip after this shit ends. But anyway, fuck all that. Yeah. The reason we're here is to talk about basically what's happened working in the last year. I know that both you are working boys and have had to endure the quarantine while, at your jobs. So I guess we should start off with Tony. Tell me about the bakery, man.
Yeah, so in the beginning of quarantine, before quarantine started even, I took a job at a bakery, a nice high-end European style sourdough like focusing bakery. And it was awesome. And I had a really lovely time there, like learning about bread, like learning more about baking and all that stuff. Worked for this guy who was, you know, at the end of the day, a small business tyrant, and he really showed his colors around quarantining and the pandemic and everything. Right before the election, I do some like local stuff, some like, you know, local organizing and stuff like that. And I also live in some pretty densely populated with racism areas, like type places that I'm like right around. So every once in a while, I'll get a nice little threat here and there. And I got a threat at work that involved my work. It had a picture of my car in front of work, and was basically just like, "Hey, I think you should stay home on election day," because I was gonna go do election support, like, you know, voting support if people needed to be escorted to or from. And so I was like, you know, I'm gonna go and take the week off. Took the week off. I had his full support. He was like, he was cool with it. My boss was cool with it. He even paid me for one of those days. And then I had a quarantine the next week because someone who lives with me got exposed. So I had a quarantine, and I did my days. I did my two negative tests and 10 days at home, not moving, not going anywhere. 2 negative tests, and I'm like, cool. So I'm ready to come back next week. And he's like, you know what? Next week. And then that next week was next week.
And the whole time, correct me if I'm wrong, the whole time he was like, oh no, take all the time you need, man.
Yeah. It was like he was like helping me out. He was like my bud. Yeah. He was like holding me down. And then I was like, hey, dude, Christmas is coming, and I have a kid and stuff. I have bills. I kind of need to work. And he's like, well, you know, we hired a couple people, and there's not really room on your schedule anymore. And I was like, okay, well, let me know when I can come back. And he just never talked to me again, never put me back on the schedule. And it's like caused this awful mess with like unemployment where they're giving me kind of a hard time because I was never really fired and all this stuff. But yeah, man, fucking small business tyrants, like unbelievable. And I was like, I like ran the front. It's one of those things I don't understand what the deal is. It made no sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, just left me off the schedule and hung me out to dry. And he was like supposed to be like I never liked him, but you know, in his head, he was like my bro.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, that's fucking insane. But yeah, small business tyrants, they don't give a fuck about you.
Damn, dude, that sucks because I enjoyed that bread.
Yeah, and that was since November, but it's allowed me to kind of do it at home now. So now I bake out of my own house and do a little cottage thing where I bake bread and I actually ship a bunch of it kind of across the country. I ship like 4 or 5 loaves to New York every week. It's kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Because like my Facebook feed is supposed to be, you know, like 70-year-olds with dying minds getting mad at a fake quote of Ilhan Omar saying we should kill all white people. Yet she is married to one, you know, or whatever. Instead, it's filled with pictures of bread that Tony's been sending to various people on my friends list.
Yeah, it rules.
Oh, yeah. That's much more wholesome. Yeah, I mean, it could have been, for all you know, any like weird strategic hiring or firing or, you know, laying off or whatever, depending on how these like various loans and stuff play into all this shit. So, man, who fucking knows, dude?
What it really was with him is like he's just kind of like a coward. And like it went too long, you know, and it was kind of like he ghosted me, you know. My boss ghosted me. He's just a little fucking baby, and he could have just been like, "Hey, dog, so you're done here. We're done here." But instead, he said nothing. And the most recent thing I saw is that they're hiring.
Damn. Why would he do you like that?
I don't know. I love it though, because like now I got people buying bread from me like instead of him sometimes, and that makes me really happy. You know, and I'm like making bread that's kind of like shitting on his bread, and his bread's really good. So that's kind of fun. But you know, shout out to the homies that still work there. You know, they big ups to them. They're still good folks, putting love into a good product. But Kevin himself can definitely fuck off forever.
Damn. Well, maybe you'll get so good at bread. This is like when like a student gets kicked out of a dojo and then they start like Cobra Kai or whatever, and you'll
That's exactly the plan.
Yeah. All right. Well,
we're gonna sweep the leg, bro.
Alexander Edward, I don't really know how to segue into asking you about this, but you seem very angry about your job on the internet a lot. So I think you should just. What's the worst thing that happened this year?
Yeah, so I'm a UPS driver, and I think it might be like a case of I don't know, like self-reporting or something, because I don't think I'm angrier at my job than most other people. I'm just in a union, so I'm allowed to constantly talk shit about my company online. Like, I actually fairly like my job, but I'm also able to just like air dirty laundry the entire time without worried about getting fun. Like, I can call a customer a bitch on Twitter, and like it's fine.
Hell yeah.
The most for me, so I've been working this whole pandemic, and the pandemic kind of started right after the holiday season in 2020, and our hours during the holiday season are nuts, from like, you know, beginning of November through like January, you know, 20th or whatever. It's just like 12 to 14 hour days nonstop. And then the pandemic hit, and so those hours like never actually subsided because people were staying home. They were ordering a lot of stuff online. I live in Seattle. I was delivering in Capitol Hill at the time, which is, you know, filled with unnatural amounts of wealth. And so people just had money to, you know, probably work from home and buy shit. They were tired of looking at their apartments all day, so they wanted another rug or, you know, another piece of furniture or whatever. And just it was like being in a waking nightmare, just every day having to work about 14 hours. And we were complaining. We were trying to get them to hire more people. But of course, they made, you know, they can't hire anybody because you have to be on car to train somebody. And so we, you know, due to the 6-foot rule, you can't be on car with somebody. And so it's just a convenient thing. Well, you know, why weren't they hiring more people previously? We've always been pretty overworked. And at one point, one of my coworkers complained like directly to our center manager, like, what the fuck, man? Like, you know, we need a fucking break, you know, after 6 months of solid 12, 14-hour days. And dude was like, well, legally I have you for 14 hours. So your ass is mine for 14 hours. Because due to like DOT regulations, like that's how long we can be on the clock every day. And it's just another instance of employers just taking advantage of the pandemic to, you know, and that's not to say that like, you know, employers didn't also, you know, have to shut down or whatever due to genuine concerns or genuine reasons. But people like Tony's boss, people like the people who owned Augie's coffee shop in the Inland Empire, California, you know, they took the pandemic as an excuse to fire their unionizing workforce. Oh, we're closing our stores for the safety of our employees.
Yeah,
they have no jobs, then they can't get sick and demand health care.
Right,
so
right.
It wasn't like I was on the front lines of you know, coronavirus or whatever. Nowhere near as stressful or exhausting as, you know, being a nurse or a doctor or, you know, a paramedic response team or anything like that during this time. But I was also in and out of hospitals every day. I was delivering First Hill and Capitol Hill, which is nothing but medical centers and hospitals. And it was just like, it's kind of frightening for like the first 3 months of like, oh, I can't touch my face. I have an itch in my eye. I have to try and pull my truck over and find a restroom where I can wash my hands so I can like wipe the sweat out of my eyes. I can't open a can of delicious Polar soda water because my hands might be contaminated with the virus. And then after a certain point, you just like kind of stop caring. Like I was still observing all the safety measures. I was still wearing a mask. I was still social distancing. I was still like trying to be careful, but you touch so many fucking doorknobs, you go through so many pairs of gloves that you're just like, well, I don't know. I probably already had it, I guess.
I always see you on like Facebook posting like, you know, photos of like some crazy sign that a person put up where they're like, you know, either really adamant that you do or do not wear a mask or something crazy like that. Like, what was that shit like? I mean, did you get like deranged weirdos fucking with you?
Totally. Seattle is great for that sort of thing. The greater Seattle area is just full of like cranks. It's just such a mix of great personality types. One funny sign I saw was like a hand-drawn kind of Etsy looking sign, you know, with like different fonts, but they did it by hand. And it says delivery folks and tenants. So this was at like an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And then like a little heart. And then it says, feel free to use natural hand cleaner. Contains filtered water, tea tree oil, and lavender essential oil. Thank you and stay safe.
Oh, God. The stay safe is really like the fucking punch at the end of that.
I'm going to use this communal jar of water to pour on my hands. That sounds... But the craziest note was this one from a customer who left this taped to their door. That says, Dear UPS man, after putting on a mask and gloves, carefully remove contents of packages, discard shipping and packing material, disinfect contents with FDA approved disinfectant for at least 30 seconds. Leave it door. Do not touch door. Leave area. Happy face.
Oh, man. I remember that, like, early part of the pandemic when, like, people were cleaning their groceries and stuff because we thought, oh, it can live on, like, service areas and stuff. But, like, that's on you to clean your own shit. That's such a weird thing to push off on, like, the delivery guy as if you can even... I mean, it's going to be sitting downstairs anyway. I mean, how does your mind not wander and, you know, go, like, it's probably just clean it your fucking self. I don't know.
Yeah, this is just somebody with like no friends. This is somebody with nobody else to like help them or tell them like, yeah, this is what you have to do. Like this is totally like an insular person whose entire world revolves around themselves, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And they're this is what you have to do for me. I like the there's so many good parts of this. I love the discard shipping and packing material. I love that. It's just, so trash goes in the trash can, folks. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. I was recently accused of always seeing the worst in people. So I'm going to go ahead and try to combat that right now and think that maybe this person is actually just hilarious. Like, what if this person is just really funny and just knows no one's going to do this and is like a real life shit poster? They just do it like in real life on their door with a printout sign.
I'm going to tell you something from my experience as like a stand-up, right? You know, comedy, like stand-up, sort of this weird bug light that attracts like just lunatics and people from the fringes of society. And open mics are really fun to watch because they're often, you know, just like the weirdest, most mentally ill people come in and... You know, they're just doing disturbing performance art, but in their head, they think they sound like George Lopez or something. And, like, there's this meta thing that happens where we always get fixated on one person, and we're like, this guy's so funny, but not on purpose. And, well, comedians will sort of eventually someone goes, what if he's a genius? What if he's like Andy Kaufman and he's doing this on purpose? And the thing is... he never is. No one is that smart. Like, it would be really cool if somebody was playing, like, weird Amelie-style pranks on Alexander while he was at work to try to teach him about life or whatever, but it's probably just an asshole.
Well, I posted this on Twitter, and a lot of people responded to it, and like the number one response was like, you know, laughing at this person, and there was like mental illness discourse in the replies, which please don't ever do that on Twitter. But the like a very prominent response was, I am so sorry you have to deal with this. Like, dear God, I totally respect and love my UPS guy, which is cool. Like, I mean, most customers are very nice to us, and I try to be nice back because I have a degree of autonomy where I can just like tell them to fuck off if I don't want to talk to them anymore, basically. But this sign didn't bother me at all. I thought it was hilarious. Like, it's worth getting the sign by being able to take a photo of the sign and post it because it's funny. Like, I read this and like chuckled to myself, snapped a photograph, and then walked away without ever doing any of these. I mean, I was already wearing a mask, so I guess I did that part, and I did leave it at the door and then left the area. So I did those parts of it.
Did you ever have to deliver anything to the Chaz? Is that is that allowed? Did anyone ever like Grubhub anything from there or anything? Not that you work for them, but
I didn't have that specific block of like was it Pine? It was like Pine and 12th, right around the police station. I went there a few times and I helped him with security a couple nights. There was like the management was like asking me about the situation downtown because I lived like 3 or 4 blocks away, and they were like asking me about what's the status, what is it like, and I was like, I don't know, it's just like people playing music and like giving away free food and like unhoused people in tents.
Yeah.
But I guess like some delivery driver, some UPS guy got assaulted to some degree, like in the park by that area or around that area. And it really just sounded to me like, somebody with mental illness, which is very prominent in Capitol Hill. There's a lot of unhoused people. And when, they all are in one area, it's going to be just a concentration of the same type of like, what is it called? Like marginalized and at-risk people and what happens to them just in a more concentrated area.
Yeah, for sure. Damn, man. All right, well, listen, thanks for joining me. It's always a fucking fun time hanging out with you guys. If my listeners are not familiar with Minion Death Cult, it's a fucking great podcast, and it's also a really fun follow on Twitter. If you enjoy weird shit from Facebook... did you guys see that thing I tagged you in it a while back? I found this fucking this Blue Lives Matter Dr. Seuss like Cat in the Hat meme. That was kind of your flavor. What's
we retweeted it. It was so good.
Have you seen anything particularly fun this week?
Oh yeah, I mean, this has been like a smorgasbord for the boomers and the older boomers especially. I think like that generation of people is going to live about 12 to 18 years longer than we expect, just off the back of a cancel culture war. Like it is giving them new life. It is giving them new creativity. People have been retired for a decade and a half at this point, are finding a new lease on life by making like a 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish meme, all Nazis or something.
Yeah.
Cancel culture has a cocoon-like effect on these people. The more memes, there's like this just charges more life into them.
Yeah, for sure.
One meme that I love was Dr. Seuss was standing behind the Coca-Cola bear and the Mr. Potato Head, and underneath it says cancel culture, and Dr. Seuss is saying, "Is this the line for unemployment?"
Yes, I saw that one. I wasn't even sure what it meant because I thought that Republicans were the ones who canceled Coke.
That's what's funny is they've already forgotten that they were the ones who were mad at Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
They recognize what cancel culture is, which is just consumers being mad at a product of some on one side or another, but they just forgot that it was them that time.
Oh man, that's such a good self-own. That's so fucking funny. All right, man. Well, thanks for talking to me, guys. Yeah, man. Hopefully I'll see you, I don't know, in the next year or something like that. Whenever the fuck we can go outside.
Come to California. I would love to drive you around again.
I want to eat some of that bread, yo. I'm coming back.
I'll get you some of that bread. We'll get some of that bread out your way.
All right, cool. All right, see you guys.
All right, thanks,
Peace.
Man.
All right, main show. All right, hello everyone. Anders Lee is here.
Anders Lee here.
representing, what was your service job? You're like a waiter back in the day?
I was a waiter and a courier, and I've also been a dishwasher and a busboy and a whatchamacallit, counter service
Wow.
server.
Look at all those shiny
Chipotle
metals.
style, yeah. When you work at a Chipotle style restaurant, they remind you every 5 minutes that this is not Chipotle.
Right.
They're constantly putting down Chipotle. If you work at a counter service thing, they're like, "We're not Chipotle."
I like you calling Chipotle a restaurant. You know, that's nice.
And we are also joined by a special guest from the FOH podcast, Lillian DeVane. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Hey.
Boys.
I'm so glad to have you. So I heard that you were doing a service industry podcast, and it took me a while to fucking get around to listening to it, just because I'm a
Totally fine. You know, it's triggering.
Pretty thin, and no, I'm such a huge fan. I'm glad I finally did it. It's fucking great, and I'm so fucking. I think every person who, especially comics, should do stuff like this, because there's such a culture in comedians to we're all temporary embarrassed millionaire types or whatever.
Right, right.
And I think it sucks that there's not just like for functional purposes, it sucks that people have to lie about their day job, because then what that does is it allows rich people to come in and they look like everyone else, and so then they just fly past everyone.
Right.
But also, it offends my sensibilities as a fun dish pit dirtbag who no, it's let's talk about bartending and waiting tables and stuff.
Totally,
it's fucking
totally,
fun.
yeah. It shouldn't be a weird shame thing to have a job. It's so bizarre. Yeah,
I know.
It's so weird.
Artists are so fucking precious. I hate them.
I know, really the worst. Yeah.
So I like your show a lot for that reason. Also, I think it overlaps with some stuff that we're probably going to talk about. I've had one question right off the bat. Is it deliberately a double entendre FOH front of house and fuck out of here? Okay.
Yes, it absolutely is. Yeah, that was the whole plan from the beginning.
Nice.
Yeah. I kind of forgot about that, and it was 2 years ago I was really into it. But yes, it is. Yes.
That's
Timeless.
so funny.
Yeah, a common refrain, I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Go ahead.
well. Sorry, in case people don't know, there is a distinction between front of house and back of house. I remember when I was applying for my first restaurant job at 18, I didn't know the difference. So I would apply to places and they would ask me front of house or back of house. And I'd be like, middle of
You're
house.
is there air conditioning in both? Sort of what's the vibe here?
Right.
The answer is no, but we like to promote cross house solidarity, but
Hell yeah.
everyone, there's different assholes in both. So, just which asshole do you want to be or be around, I guess.
I moved from back of house to front of house, and I consider myself like a Horatio Alger story of the restaurant. I'm a myth that they bring out to try to convince people to be Republicans.
No, yeah, you're a folk legend, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's often there's, you might imagine, and I'm sure you've heard many grudges between both, and they do that on purpose, of course they do that on purpose. So we really need to, find the common enemy, which is of course the boss. So, Yeah, obviously.
I'm not even joking.
a customer.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Both. Yeah. You're getting it from all angles. So you really have to, have to come together.
Yeah. There's gonna be a lot of that going on in this episode. I'm not even joking, man. A lot of stuff that kind of made me into a fucking communist originated with just thinking about the restaurant and going wait a minute. This thing they're telling you where you can work your way up is a myth and all this stuff.
Totally.
Why?
No, it's the perfect, it's a fucked up, perfect little microcosm of every problem and every class problem. Everything is just inside of a restaurant. It's totally bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I want to talk a little bit in this part of the show, I guess, about, let's start off with this. None of us are actually working in the service industry right now. Might as well just come out and say it,
Yeah, stolen valor 100% this whole year. Yeah.
I'll start with my story. So I was on my way out, right? I was a bartender for a long time, and what I did was I switched to delivering pizzas while I was getting into podcasting as like a fucking, I was like, I'm gonna give this a couple years, and if it fucking doesn't work, I'm gonna go back to making the money. But what I was doing was listening to a lot of audiobooks and stuff, and like it's more flexible and stuff. And using it as research for the show, and then still kind of needing to do it on the side. But I was just about where I could like kind of stop when COVID happened, and then like the people I was living with were like, "Do you need to go deliver pizzas that bad?" And I was like, "Nah, I can chill." And what happened is I was working for like an app, and if you I stopped for long enough that they like rebooted the app and you had to like re-sign up and shit. And I didn't do it. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like broke. Like it's, but we're not spending any money. Like we're just hanging out inside.
Right. Oh God. Yes. Sorry.
But I was still like living fucking on a shoestring. And what happened to me this year is that when I went to jail, I got arrested from fucking getting smashed up by the cops. I lost my phone, and so it was this whole fucking ordeal. And when I finally got a phone and turned it on, I logged into like my bank account, and all of the back unemployment had dropped at the same time.
Holy shit!
And it was they paid you retroactively for the months, like the last few months or whatever. And I'm a hobo, so I have a low, cost of living. And so it just
like can of beans. Yeah, you get excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So it set me pretty hard. So I'm not gonna claim, I'm gonna knock on wood when I say this. Like, I don't know, I'm not working in the service industry right now, might go back to it or whatever. But I haven't done one of these episodes in a year, and part of that is fucking probably because I haven't been thinking about it because I haven't been fucking working all the time.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to disrespect anyone by claiming, or stealing valor or whatever.
Right. No, totally. Yeah, it's a weird place to be in for sure. Especially like not even that you like it's your identity or anything, but it's just like if it's been a part of what you do or your life or like your brain, it's just like very weird to not have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, what I was going to do on the show is I'll be talking to a lot of my friends about just like nightmare stories they have and stuff. But I listened to your show, and I liked that you sort of looked into like the debunking, like the PR that small business owners do and shit like that, and looking into where the money really goes. You had a really good episode on like, quote unquote charity that you see. I've been fighting with this like comedy club owner. I don't want to drag anyone else into this if anyone's trying to work.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit. Yeah.
But I knew he was doing this sort of shit, and he keeps going like, we are providing, benefits for all these workers and comedians and stuff, yada yada yada. So I looked into what he was doing, and it was pretty much what you guys are covering on the show, which is like, he's working with this group called the New York City Hospitality Alliance, which is
I fucking hate them so much.
I know, they're so terrible.
They're the worst. Yeah.
It's like a fucking.
It sounds like a group Andrew Cuomo thought of. Like he just named this group of entrepreneurs or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like when he was coming up with his like women's bus or whatever.
Women's equality party.
Yeah. Their thing is, it's like it presents itself as like, a person who's not fucking keyed up on this shit might think, oh, this is like good for service industry workers, and it's like, no, it's an alliance for the dickheads that own all these restaurants.
Yes, it's a lobbying group, right?
Yeah, and they fucking lobby, and small business owners get used as this really clever like rhetorical tool for politicians who are catering to like capitalist interests.
Yeah,
we could do a whole podcast on that. I'm not really going to go off the deep end. If you're if you're listening and you're curious, there's a really good Citations Needed episode about it. I would recommend. But yeah, so this is just something that like if once you catch on to the way this stuff works mathematically, you can kind of see it everywhere. And I saw something that made me kind of laugh, which is this article in the New York Post a day or two ago about how
my favorite paper. I really love their stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. This is in their business section, a subcategory of the business section called side dish, which is for food, I guess.
Magnifique.
Yummy.
It's how NYC eateries are enticing staff to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And then there's like a graphic of a guy, he's like a restaurant owner from some place called Harvest Kitchen. He's just holding a plate of what appear to be beige cubes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like like white cubes, just like butter, tofu, something. Yeah, you can't quite make it out. Not appealing in any way. No.
Yeah.
That's what white people's poop looks like, in case anyone's wondering.
Jesus Christ, Anders.
That is true. That is true.
So he's enticing his employees with this plate of white blob. And anyway, the whole tack of the article is like, this guy, Jeremy Wolatis, is offering to pay his employees $25 each to get vaccinated. And Shake Shack staffers are getting an extra 6 hours of pay. And Starbucks is shelling out 4 hours of pay for employees who get protected by the virus. These are all people who pay minimum wage, so it's like not very much money,
No. It's also like, yes, it's bare minimum, like what they should always be doing. But it's always in everything like this where you're like, the spin on it, it's just like, okay, they just want it's just money. That's all it is. Like, they just want their employees. They don't want their employees to get sick and they have to shut down. I mean, it's just like, it's perfect sense for them. Like, that's not because they love their employees or want them to be healthy or safe. Like, it's never about that anyways.
Yeah,
so.
No, but it's spin for real. Like,
always.
I think I figured this one out. I'm not entirely sure, but when I looked into it, and so it's legal to require your employees to get vaccinated. You can do that as a business. And they're saying, like, well, we don't want to do that because, like, they cited some bogus study that said, like, 30% of workers don't believe in the vaccine or something. It's, like, not true. It's a bogus fucking study.
Yes,
everyone's trying to get vaccinated, right? And they're saying, like, there's people with, like, religious purposes and all this stuff. And so I think what happened is, if you are an employer and you abide by the rule, you go like, we're going to require our employees to get the vaccine, you're now like liable if something goes wrong in the vaccination process, if there's like side effects. And also the other thing is, if someone does decide, and this is kind of a weird situation, but if a worker does go, I don't want to get vaccinated, you then have to fire them if you don't want them to fucking, to be on the payroll still, which I think makes them eligible for unemployment. So I think this is a workaround to where you can't, like, they can't be fired in the way of whatever, you don't get unemployment, I think.
Right.
And so
that makes sense. That could be.
But the spin on that is, like, the real story is, like, these people don't want to require their workers to get vaccinated. But so now the story is, like, benevolent fucking restaurant owners paying people upwards of $35 to get.
It's fuck off. Like, fuck off. I mean, the amount of, like, gorgeous fawning PR that small business owners have gotten through this past year is, like, absolutely fucking disgusting. It's just like, they are all horrible people without exception. Sorry. They just are. They always have been. And now they're just, like, the most suffering. And there's never any, I mean, the amount of, like, no one's writing about the workers, very few. And if they are, they're like, these poor, sad, undocumented, dying people. And it's like, that's not the story. Like, that is a story, but it's not like, it's just, it's so depraved. Everyone is such a fucking moron and just takes all of this bait and all of this PR and just eats it up and spits it out. It's so insane to me.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, it's never worker oriented, and, like,
no, of course.
I think that was illustrated pretty well if you follow my various internet fights with this guy who owns a comedy club who was, like, he was doing this. Essentially, he was trying to spin a lot of what he was doing as, like, I'm trying to help, comedians and all these fucking people.
If they don't have jobs, then they can't. Yeah, it's that whole thing. Like, I'm giving them jobs.
Yeah. And so I looked into it, and I think what was happening is that, so if you own a small business in the last year, you were eligible for these PPP loans. What is that? Public, private, whatever fucking.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you would get these loans, and they're public. You can search them, like, they're public, what do you call it, information or whatever.
Yeah.
I looked him up. He's got fucking tens of thousands of them. And so their loans, though, you have to pay them back unless you meet, like, a qualifier of, I paid this much.
60%. 60% payroll.
In, like, wages, yeah. And so I think that what a lot of owners are trying to do, or I know that, I mean, I don't know if it's this specific guy or whatever, but like a lot of stories are coming about how like people would get like fired and then they would get hired back. They go, wait, no, please come work because we need you to work a certain amount so that we can keep the rest of the loan, and you're not allowed to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like people are getting like hired back at like $40 an hour. Like they're hiring back. I mean, anecdotally, like I know a lot of people from places who worked in New York City who got let go and they never got asked to come back, and they hired a bunch of new people at a lower, like that's just what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? So that's how they're getting around it. I assume. Oh, it's the Paycheck Protection Program. Just so we
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But,
it doesn't specify whose paychecks were protecting.
Right, exactly.
Really.
And I mean, I feel like owners will just put themselves on the, like, there's so many ways to scam it, obviously. And all of these people are monsters and they know how to scam, and they've been scamming everybody because they're business owners.
Tom Brady's company got a PPP loan, apparently.
Yeah, right. It's like all the chain, like we've all heard it, you know, like Shake Shack got one. It's just like, it's a joke.
I looked up the Comedy Store and I can't remember. They have something insane like $800,000 or something.
Like so crazy. What is happening? And then like all the GoFundMe, it's just like, there's so much money and it's so weird. Yeah. I mean, obviously the right people aren't getting it. Yeah.
That's kind of the main point. So there's like a DSA working group right now that's sort of on a little campaign, you know,
what are those scams up to? Yeah.
You know, the I think the line is like 50% for workers or something like that. The idea being that, you know, they're telling people that this money is going towards, you know, people who work in restaurants, but it's just going towards the boss. You know, we should do something to try to get that fucking money into the pockets of workers.
Yeah. I mean, I know my old boss, they just did renovations, and then they're like, do you want to come in and paint for free in April when everyone had the virus? I said, I don't think I'll be coming into work after I've been laid off to paint the restaurant for free, but thanks for asking. It's like,
it's powerful fun.
What? Like, it's so crazy. Yeah.
It's like a white fence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tom Sawyer style. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so the reason I brought this up is because, so Andrew Yang, like, talked to this fucking small business tyrant that I've been beefing with or whatever, and...
When?
He was, like, tweeting about it and shit. It was, like, a week ago.
Oh, my God.
And this is why Andrew Yang's trash, man, and I'm really worried that he's doing so well in this mayor's race. He fucking, you know, came away and had some stupid Andrew Yang post about it where he was just like, I talked to a comedy club. They're eager to get back to work and all this stuff. And Andrew Yang follows me. And I fucking DM'd him. And I was like, hey, you know, I'm going to cash in my one DM if I get one on this fucking thing. And it was like, here's my take on this. You are talking to the bosses and not the workers about this. Whose side are you on? Like, if you're running for mayor, what are you trying to project here? You know, that you are on the side of a ton of people that work in restaurants or the people that exploit them? And he never fucking answered me.
Right. Of course.
I think that his kind of, you know, weird pseudo tech guy, libertarianist, whatever fake progressive thing is very emblematic of,
yes,
you know, what's going on behind the veneer of this PR stuff.
It's just such a bummer because it's
honestly,
like...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think his whole plan for like what we should do for manufacturing and jobs that are being automated, we should do for the service industry. Like I used to enjoy going to restaurants a lot more when I worked in one, but ever since I stopped, it's like I have a lingering anxiety about just entering one and interacting with one. It's just like I can't do it anymore. And like I just have reached the point where it's like we don't need to be doing this. This is a charade. This is a joke, especially with COVID. We're just making people, instead of just giving them unemployment, we're making people go to these jobs and risk their health for other people's like leisure, you know. And it's we set up these disgusting like gazebos next to homeless people sleeping on the street. Like we don't need to dine out. Like just you can have a place people go and make food and share with each other. We don't need the service industry. I mean, that's extreme, I know, but if we can start transitioning away from like manufacturing and other, you know, coal or whatever, then we can start, you know, giving people money and retraining for like green jobs or something away from like that's the direction we should be going in with Yangism, not like, you know, giving money to prop up these small business tyrants so they can keep exploiting service industry workers.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a way to do it. I mean, restaurant industry, it's not like the model is not, it cannot hold. It's not a good model. It's based on exploitation, obviously. But I mean, there have been some like, you know, community-based, like a collective restaurant, like that's something that could happen. I don't think the service industry is like useless or valueless. Like I think it has its place in our community, but yeah, I mean, in New York City, it's like, it's a disgusting corporate, like it's a real estate business, essentially. That's it. And it's for, you know, and it's like, yeah, but Andrew Yang, I mean, I'm not surprised that he's going like the worst possible. He's talking to the worst people about anything, like everything.
Yeah.
Such a moron.
Yeah, I think I might not be entirely on abolish restaurants just yet. Well, maybe a little bit. I'm going to actually talk a little bit on another section of the show about a really cool piece of literature that ends with that idea, but it's a very utopian idea. I'm a bit more of a co-op guy, honestly.
Totally.
I've lived near and been to frequently, or frequented rather is the word I was looking for, some very well-functioning co-ops. I think it could totally work. And my kind of dream is to introduce that into the ecosystem of comedy clubs, because the problem is usually the fucking person that owns the place. But I don't know. I mean, I get, the worst thing about kind of this pandemic coming to an end to me is that I think there was an opportunity to kind of, at least in the way Anders was just talking about, like take advantage of the moment. And it's not happening because politics in this country are just fucking all oriented behind like bailing out these fucking dickheads and making little shady deals with them, you know?
Yeah. No, totally.
Let's see. I think that's probably everything that I had outlined. I'm going to pause for a second. All right, what were you saying about delivery, Anders?
Well, just like that's a site of a lot of danger, I think, right now, and it has been for the past year, right? That's probably what I would be doing if I didn't luck out on like getting a job like just a few months before this shit broke. But like the fact that Prop 22 passed in California is not an accident, right? During the pandemic, because they want to prevent people who work for apps like Jake and I did, delivering food, from being able to unionize and get healthcare and benefits and stuff. So it looks pretty dim, but at the same time, I do think the PRO Act has some positive aspects to it. It's already being spun as like anti-freelancer, like people are trying to drill in the idea that like, oh, if you're an independent contractor, this is going to hurt you. But really, it gives you the ability, if it were to pass, to form a freelancers union, so you would be able to get benefits and healthcare and regular wages and stuff. And I think that's a really important site of struggle, and like even after the pandemic, right? Because that's sort of like slowly becoming the norm for a lot of workers in America, is having to work for these apps. It's still a minority of people, but like if there's if that's becoming the norm, there's a limit to how much people can take of not having any rights to organize or bargain or anything. So at some point there has to be a breaking point. So I think, I don't know, I'm somewhat optimistic about the PRO Act, which I keep talking about on this podcast, and people should phone bank for. But or it could just continue getting worse, and Prop 22ization will subsume the entire country.
Well, I'm pretty happy because the Chamber of Commerce is angry about it, which means it's probably cool.
Yeah.
Apparently every freshman representative that they endorsed voted against it, and they're just like having a meltdown on Twitter about it. Like, but I endorsed you freshman.
Right, a couple Republicans voted for the PRO Act in Congress, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this year there have been some really cool things to come from all of this. And I think for the first time, at least to me, which I try to keep pretty good track of all, news with the service industry and labor. But we've heard of people in New York City who are, I am blanking on their name, but like delivery workers are like they are organizing like that on their own and like independent of these. So like it's happening. I mean, they saw how much everybody needed them and how quote unquote essential they were, and they can't use the bathroom when they're doing their job. And it's just like, they're like, this sucks. Like it's always sucked, but now they're like, what the hell? And it's, I think it is inspiring, not to be corny, but like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it will be good. I don't know. I hope.
No, it's cool. Yeah. So to kind of circle back on what we were talking about at the top of this, I guess I just wanted to ask you, like, how did you decide to start your show?
Basically it was, I feel like similar to you, I've been doing this kind of work for like 10 years while I was doing various other creative projects. And I was like, I just have this whole other world of knowledge that I don't ever talk about. Like you were saying, it's like, I don't talk to people about it because it's like what I do for a living. But I was like, but I know there's so many things to talk about the service industry that people don't think about. And also I was just like, everyone is such an asshole in restaurants without even realizing it. And I was like, if I can just reach one person, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I just want you to know that you're like such a dick. And so that was part of my motivation. It was purely selfish, really. But, but yeah, mostly that, I guess. Cool. I was a comedian, so I had to have a podcast,
Yeah. Well, I think the dick thing is quite noble.
Yes, right. I'm really trying to perform a service for everybody. So, yeah.
We're gonna say
I have several hits out on different customers throughout the New York City area, customers and bosses that I've deployed.
You never forget.
Yeah. What is like the most annoying thing customers do in your estimation?
Oh my God,
it's tough question.
Like, I know it's just like a general like aura, I guess. I just also just them being there. No, I guess I just worked with, I mostly at the end sort of was serving in higher end places. So it's just like the more money you make, just like they really make you work for it because they're horrible. I guess it's just really just and the higher up you go, it's just a non-acknowledgement of you as a person. I think that is like this really strange thing. Like I love working at bars where it's like, what's up, dude? Like, here's a beer and a shot. Like, let's talk for a second. I'm a person. And then when you're serving people carpaccio or whatever the fuck, they're just like, you are a pair of hands to get me what I need. And you don't have eyes actually, or a name, So that I think is just like the dehumanization, the higher up you get in the service industry is like such a bizarre thing that no one really talks about. I don't know.
Well, that's what they're buying, That's what's for sale. It's a fucking servant. I can't remember if I've ever brought it up on this series because I thought I went through all my jobs already, but I worked briefly at the River Cafe when I first moved to New York, which is like this restaurant that's like underneath the Brooklyn Bridge, but in like it's down by like the famous carousel and all that shit.
Yeah.
And it was destroyed by hurricane. Which one? That hit
Sandy?
Yeah, and so they rebuilt it. And they're rebuilding it right when I got here. And so I was able to get in because they just were hiring off of Craigslist. But I mean, it was like I had to wear a white like tuxedo blazer and like shave my face and like slick my hair back like a butler. And there was like chandeliers and a guy tinkling on a piano and stuff. And like you just had to be like, "Yo, Bay Breeze," because they drank like trash. The rich people drink garbage drinks because they're all from generations of people that don't really understand like cocktails and stuff. So they just drink like a tequila sunrise and it costs like $25.
Totally.
And like fucking Joe Biden used to come in and like New York mayors and shit like that. It was fucking crazy. But I quit to go work at a burger place because after a while I was just like, I didn't move to New York to work in to climb the restaurant industry,
Right. No, it's a very specific thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing I hated the most was there's just like this. There's like no good way to do it. Like there are customers who get pissed off about complete opposite things when it comes to like how much attention you're paying to them.
Yeah,
like some people are furious to walk away for like a second and they need something, and then other people are furious if you like they feel watched.
Yeah,
if you're like, looking to see if they need something. So it's like this performance you have to do where you're watching, but you're not watching. And I posted this on social media recently, but my worst Yelp review was when I had been like traveling for a couple of months and came back to New York and like picked up shifts at this restaurant I used to work at, and I like just my head wasn't quite in the game of like playing that stupid little game
Sure.
of not pretending not to look at people while looking at them, and I was just happened to be like watching a big table to see if they needed anything, and then they wrote a Yelp review. It was like, this almost redheaded server was glaring at us. And
Almost redheaded. It's so funny. No, it's so, I also think like truly the entitlement of guests, of customers has risen so sharply in the last decade. It's like, I don't know when, I guess it's like from the recession when everyone, and it's going to happen again, like maybe even worse, but like from the recession when everyone was like, okay, we would need people to come in. We have to do everything possible to make them happy. And I think it's like that desperation made everyone just be like following people around with like tiny little plates and napkins. It's like, we don't need to do that. Like you can just come in and play by the rules of the restaurant and chill the fuck out. Like stop. It's enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I think that's part of it. There's that like material kind of explanation coming from below, and then there's also like the surveillance of like Yelp and stuff like that.
Totally.
I've met so many dickheads who like don't understand any of this stuff, and like you'll be out eating with them, and they'll just pull out their phone and they'll be like, "This is great because it helps them run the restaurant better," and you're like, "No, you are a cop. Fuck off."
Yes. No. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Cool. Well, anyway, I appreciate you doing the show, and I just think everybody who can should do stuff like this so that people know how the other half lives and stuff.
Yeah, totally. No, thanks for having me. It was super fun.
Yeah, for sure. So where can my listeners find you and listen to your show and all that stuff?
We're on iTunes and Spotify. It's FOH with Kelly Sullivan and Lillian DeVane. Post on Instagram a good amount. It's FOH Pod. And then we have a Patreon like everybody else. We talk about like all the stuff we don't normally talk about, like Art Bell, Ruby Ridge, whatever you want to hear, we talk about on Patreon. So you get all those worlds. Yeah. So we cover all the bases. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of content.
What how does Ruby Ridge play into restaurants?
We don't link it. It's not like, what did they eat? It's not like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
What was the cuisine like? You know what I mean? Rustic sort of, no.
Today we're talking about Ruby Ridge and Ruby Tuesday. And
what are the connections? Are there any? No,
just Randy Weaver's bratwurst. I want to.
I mean, it was homemade, smoked, delicious. I mean, if it were today, win awards. No, it's just stuff that we don't talk, because we are kind of pigeonholed a little bit in this way, so we're like, whatever we want to talk about, we talk about on Patreon. So
no, totally. I mean, you're a comic, so your show is just your base of operations, and
right, exactly. Yeah,
I've done episodes about much weirder shit on the show, and we've done Ruby Ridge.
There you go. Well, I'll listen up. Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys.
That was our episode. Please, if you enjoy the show, rate and review and subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you want to buy a t-shirt, there's a merch store called poddamnamerica.bigcartel.com. And if you really like the show, you want to hear more episodes, go to patreon.com/poddamnamerica and you give us $5, and then there's more episodes in a Discord server. You can talk to your friends on the Discord, and sometimes we do, we watch movies and things like that. Okay, it's finished.